Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's Vin PF. On today's episode, we're going back to some English whiskey and checking out the Lakes distillery Equinox. I will say at the top of the show, massive thanks to the Lakes for sending this over to me for review. Always welcome to try some Lake stuff, and if they want to send it over, that's absolutely brilliant to me. It's actually been a while since I covered some Lakes. You know, they've been doing a lot of releases. They calmed down a little bit over recent years, I've noticed, but there was a time when they were putting out release after release after release after the release. So it's nice to visit something. This is actually last year's release, 2023. The idea behind the Equinox is that it's kind of to celebrate that moment where summer starts to turn into autumn, pretty much like where we are now, which is I guess why they're sending these out at the moment, because it makes sense at this time of year. Whatever, I don't tend to worry about the stories behind whiskey, what they're trying to represent. It's just, that's what it is. As always though, massive comment to the bottles, because I don't talk about bottles very often, but I really do think that the Lakes bottles are exceptionally styled. Love their kind of, I think they call it the quatrefoil thing, the design they've got going on here, which is a design point taken from the barns or buildings that they've built their distillery in. We've got some nice little features, nice little metal cap on top of that, and lovely design work, of course. Does come in a box. Usually I don't talk about the box, but here it is. This is the place where you're going to see non-chill filtered and natural coloured as well. You're not going to see it on the label, which is unfortunate, but it is there. I tend to throw my boxes away once I've done the review, because I like the bottles to be on my shelf, not the boxes, but there you go, neither here nor there. Okay, best thing to do then is to get into it and see what we got. Obviously, this is a no age statement. I did have a little look around. I probably could have asked them for more information on age, but couldn't easily find it. I do know that this is a mixture of Oloroso and Moscatel casks. Again, not easy to find. I found that information on things like Whiskey Base and things like that, not on official documentation. So you ordinarily wouldn't know that, I don't think. Sells for 90 quid, which we'll get into a little bit later on. 46.6%, which is, an ABV we like. And as I said, natural colour. So, it's not the darkest of these Whiskey Makers bottles that we have, Whiskey Makers editions, but it's looking pretty good. Let's get into the actual glass and see what we got. I've put the legs as relatively thin and fast, but only relatively, it's only an indication. It's not always proof of pudding. So yeah, it's somewhere, nominal, I would say. Let's get into the nose and see what we got. Well, the first thing to go on with this, because it's Oloroso, I tend to sometimes get a lot of sulphur on stuff like that. Not a bean of it in this, so that's good. It's nice and light, it's fruity, very vibrant. I'm not getting the kind of dried fruits I normally would do on a kind of drier sherry. I can only imagine that's the Moscatel doing its thing. I don't know much about Moscatel, must admit. But it smells lovely. Fresh, fruity, floral. Obviously not smoky or fainty at all. Let's get into the palate. So, to start with, you're getting a replication of the nose. Those sweet honey, fruits, vanillas. Then quite a steep amount of spice hits, which is good. We're talking like, I don't know, it's like clove, black pepper, mixed in with all kinds of things like those dried fruits are coming through now. But they're also mixed in with those juicy fruits that we're getting as well. So that's quite an interesting vibe on the tongue. It's not really, I'm not really quite sure what it's trying to do, but it's all mingled nicely, if that makes sense. Like, I often use this analogy where if you're listening to an orchestra, close your eyes, you'll hear the whole thing. But if you start staring at one individual component, you might be able to zone in on that and pick it out. That's kind of what's going on here. If you concentrate on each part of your tongue, you get a slightly different experience, which is, again, cool. I imagine this it hasn't been sort of changing daily when I've been drinking this over the last week or so, but it has been, I have been able to pick different things out of it, if that makes sense at all. Yeah, it's a lovely tasting dram, it's the truth. One that I would happily drink on a daily sipper basis. That sort of then brings me into the final part of it, which we can talk about price, and maybe the issue here. This is a solid 90 quid. That's a lot of money for me, a lot of money for you. Obviously, I was sent this bottle, so I didn't pay for it, so I can't make that assessment on whether I'm happy with that or not. What I could say is that for my budget, I think it's probably a little much. Like I'm sure it's fine, you know, like that's how much things cost these days. Prices are going up and whatnot. But I think that for me, it fits into that really kind of nice, vibrant, exciting daily sipper vibe. You know, something to kind of invigorate your palate. It doesn't quite sit in the kind of special zone for me, which is where I would expect 90 quid. And that's just me, you know. But there are people out there that can afford hundreds of pounds on whiskey, and so this might well sit on their daily sipper shelf at 90 quid. But not for me, unfortunately. And I'm not sure what anyone else would think of that, but yeah, whiskey's getting expensive, is the truth of it all. And it sits well within their pricing range at the Lakes. The prices have been going up and up and up, same as quite a lot of these newer distilleries like Cotswolds again have been going up and up and up. So it's one of those ones. Obviously I would like to see it cheaper, but you know, if they're selling it, fine, that's good. But that's my honest opinion, is the truth. Like I said, I will happily sip this. It's a great tasting whiskey, perfect for the shelf. But I have to say, I'm going to move it to the front. You know, this is one of those ones, I'm not going to keep it special to hide at the back. It'll go whenever someone wants to come round, it'll get drunk. If I'd have paid the money, maybe it'd be different, because I would be a bit loath to part with that sort of money. But that's just me. That's just me. Let me know what you think below, if you've tried this or if you were going to try it or whatever. I'd love to know. Really like the Lakes Distillery. They're making wonderful stuff. And long may it continue, and may they find a way of bringing some of the prices down every now and again. But that's just me. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again on more videos coming soon. Cheers.